Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to Touching Youth Talk Show. My name is Elder Sheila Black, and guess what? I have a great guest on with me tonight, Miss Willie Mae McIver. How are you today, ma'am?
I am doing fantastic. How are you?
I am doing great, and it is such an honor and a privilege to have you on the show. You are DFW's king, queen, not king, queen of radio. It's just been a blessing to just know you and just watch and see what God has been doing in your life. So tell me about you. Where did you come from?
So, I was born and raised in Las Vegas, Nevada, and very few people are born and raised there. And I'm probably the only person that a lot of people know that was born and raised in Vegas. I graduated from the University of Nevada at Las Vegas with a degree in communications and an emphasis in broadcasting, radio, and television. I had an internship at a radio station there in Las Vegas, KCEP FM. And from that internship, they hired me on full time. And I had various roles at that station from public service director to promotions to music director, on air talent program director, assistant general manager. I kind of worked my way up over the years. And so I did that. And in 1986, I relocated to Dallas Fort Worth. A few sorority sisters talked me into it. I'm an AKA, so ski wee. Uh, and they talked me into moving to Dallas, and I started radio at a station in Dalworthington Gardens, which is a suburb of Arlington. And the station was called KSAV, KSAV. From
Wonderful.
there, I went to work with ABC Radio Networks. They called me. I had reached out to them. I knew they were based here in the Dallas Fort Worth area. So while at KSAVE, I reached out to them to see if they had a gospel format, and they did not. But they said if they ever thought about doing anything gospel, they would reach out to me, and they did. In 1989, I launched the very first live syndicated gospel radio show in the country. It was called Gospel Inspirations, and it aired in about 50 markets on their urban AC format, which was called Heart and Soul. And I did that for them for 10 years. And then during that 10-year period, I kept asking them, can we have a gospel format? You all don't have a gospel format. It'd be great if you had a gospel format. They finally decided to do it in 1999, and they put me over. It made me program director, and I launched Rejoice Musical Soul Food for ABC Radio Networks. So I did that for them until they decided to discontinue the format. They were going through a transition. Their radio network was being sold to another entity, and they let go of a number of the formats that they had. They had about 9 or 10 formats, and they let go of about 3 of them. And mine was one of them. But our affiliates loved our format so much that they decided to pool their money together and keep it going. So it is actually still going on today. Not owned by the affiliates any longer, but it's still in existence. So it's kind of like my baby, and I'm so glad to see that it's still continuing on. From Rejoice, I got let go actually from Rejoice in 2009, and I said, okay, I've been doing syndicated radio since 1989, and I can do this for myself. So I launched my own show, Beyond the Praise, which is currently in 30 plus markets around the country. As I mentioned, it's been running since 2009. God is good, and things are going well for the show.
So
So
how
that's a snapshot of my life.
so how hard or how easy was it in the past to break into the radio station world? I know I used to want a radio station myself, and back then they were like, oh, it costs $100,000 to get it started, and of course, I was afraid of that number, and never did anything about it because I was so afraid of that number. What would you say to the person that wanted to start their own radio station now?
Well, radio stations are expensive. They are. I would never myself think of being a radio station owner. They are pretty pricey, depending on the market that you're looking to purchase a station in. So that's kind of like never been my dream to own a radio station. I don't mind being on radio stations and in radio. I've been in radio for 42 years,
Mhm.
and will probably be in radio until God calls me home, because I really love it. I love what I do. And but I never thought about owning it. It is expensive. I would say to the person that wants to own a radio station to see how much money you have, see how much money your friends have, look at getting investors, loans, and so forth, and then kind of decide on what market you want to be in. Kind of get an idea of what stations are going for in that market, and then kind of go from there.
So, tell me about how you ended up with Heaven 97.
So once I launched my own syndicated show in 2009, I approached them in 2013. It had been on for a few years. I approached Heaven 97 to see if they were interested in carrying my syndicated show. And they were, but it kind of came with a stipulation. I would have to help them out with sales and consulting them in other areas. Because I had been in the business for so long, they really wanted to have my knowledge um, in their camp. So I said, okay, sounds like a deal. I will help you all out with sales and any other areas that you need help in, because I also consult uh, gospel radio stations. That's something else that I do. So I said, okay, I will consult you all. I will help you out with sales if you carry my show in the fifth market, because Dallas is considered the fifth market, and I wanted my show on in the fifth market. So that's kind of how I got with them, and was with KHVN until it was sold. And now my show airs on the sister station for KHVN, which now has new owners as well, KGGR.
So, but how long were you at KHBN? How many years?
I was there from 2013 until it sold a couple of years ago, I guess. So
Wow.
yeah, I was there about maybe 7, 8 years.
So, would you say that you met a lot of celebrities from working with KHBN?
I have met a lot of celebrities from being in radio, period. In my 42 years of radio, I have met a lot of celebrities. I have done tons of interviews, have probably thousands of interviews in 42 years. So, too many to know. I have a lot of history with a lot of the artists. I've known a lot of them before they had their first big hit. So they're kind of like now, kind of like children to me. I've seen them grow up in the industry, and I'm so proud of them. A number of the artists call me mom, auntie, sis, because they've known me their whole careers. So it's just good to have those relationships with people in the industry. They're like my friends, because I haven't really had time to really have a quote unquote have a life. My life has been this industry. And so the friends that I have made over the years have been people in the industry, from artists to record executives and so forth and so on. But it's been quite the journey. I've enjoyed it thoroughly. And it's not only a job for me or career, but it's a ministry. I have been able to share God and His Word and the goodness of God my whole 42 years in radio. Wherever I would go, whatever station I was a part of, when I was at ABC Radio Network, I always let my light shine to those who may not have had a light. And I like to think that I help them to get a better relationship with God. And that's really kind of like my I guess my biggest accomplishment was being able to share God's word along the journey, my 42 years, and to lead souls to Christ through my career.
That is wonderful. So, tell me like maybe a couple of people who you've interviewed before.
Oh my gosh, just about everybody. If you kind of go through the Billboard magazine gospel chart, it's probably just about everybody. And like I said, I knew a lot of them before they had their big hits. Like, well, Fred Hammond, Commission. I knew Commission before they had a big hit. I knew Marvin Sapp before his first big hit. I knew Mary before they had their first big. Ty Tribbett before he had his first big hit. Um, Basically, I've known all of these people pretty much all of their careers because of the length of time I've been in there. Now, some people I've interviewed that were there before me, and so them I weren't, I wasn't with along their whole journey, like the Shirley Caesars, like the you know, Dorothy Norwood and individuals like that who are a tad bit older than me, then yeah, they you know, I've gleaned from their lives. And I love interviewing the seasoned artists as well because I learned so much from them, and I learned what they had to go through to get to where they are now. Their trials, their tribulation. It wasn't easy for them, especially back in the day, back in the 40s and 50s and 60s. So I really love listening to them and interviewing them because I always learn something about the business, about their careers, about their journeys that I really, you know, take into my own life.
So has this industry always been female friendly?
It has not. It has not, and to a certain degree, I mean, it's friendly now, but still, I'm not quite sure that the females in this industry are have the same privileges as some of the male, or have the same amount of money, making the same amount of money as some of the male, and they're doing the same job. So that continues on over into to our industry. But it was a lot harder. Um, when I first started, we weren't always respected, and when we would stand our ground, they would say we're being the quote unquote we're being a B, but we
Mhm.
weren't being a B. We were just not taking any mess because we knew our stuff just like they did, and we weren't going to be stepped on. So it has gotten better as far as being respected, but in some aspects of it, we still got a little bit of ways to go.
So did you have like a mentor that was in this industry, or did you just learn from the hard knock school?
You know what? I learned from other people. I watched other people. I watched other successful program directors. I watched other successful music directors. I watched other successful general managers, people in the industry. I became like a sponge. I would go to all the conferences that the industry had, not just for gospel. I would just go to conferences in general because just if you're concentrating or focusing just on gospel stations, you're preaching to the choir sometimes. So I wanted to see how other formats did what they did and how I can incorporate it into the gospel format. So I would go to conferences that were urban conferences. I would go to AC conferences. I would go to different conferences, and I listened to different radio stations, and I still do it now. I would listen to urban stations. I would listen to country, rock, alternative, because I wanted to hear what everybody was doing and how I could bring that into gospel, incorporate it into gospel, and make gospel better by gleaning off some of the things that they were doing and processes they were doing on their formats.
So I often wonder why in the past we only had gospel on the AM station and not the FM station. Do you have any idea as to why in the past we never had a FM radio station, meaning like an African American
Yeah,
station?
we have, well, we have more FM gospel stations now around the country than ever before, and I'm so excited and glad about that. There are a number of companies around the uh, country who have incorporated FM gospel stations into their format. I think it might have been a little challenging before because one, they weren't sure how to sell gospel, and in radio, in all media outlets, for some people, for a lot of people, for the people at the top, it's about the money. If they can't make any money off of it, then that's not a format they're going to have as part of their repertoire. So I think they learned how to sell it better. So we have more FM stations now than we ever have had before. But I think that was the reason. One of the reasons why was because they weren't sure that there was a market for it, and they weren't sure how to pitch it.
Hmm, that's wonderful. So let me ask you about. I often wonder, like when you play people's music on the radio station, how do they make money off of that?
They get royalty checks.
Okay, all
Uh-huh.
right.
Yeah, they get royalty checks. I think it's quarterly, but they get royalty checks off when songs are played on the radio.
Oh, that is wonderful. That is wonderful. So let's talk about Covenant Media Group. How did it get started?
So I started Covenant Media Group in 2009. when I launched Beyond the Praise. It needed a parent company. And I also wanted to be able to do other things besides just radio, because you should never, I learned the hard way that you shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket. And that's what I had originally done with the previous format. I had put all my heart and energy and eggs into this one basket. And then when I got let go, I'm like, okay, God, what do I do now? So had a little come to Jesus meeting, and he told me to utilize all the gifts and talents I had learned over the years to make those talents profitable for me, to sustain me. Because God gives everybody everything that they need to sustain themselves. Either animals, birds, whatever, everybody's got everything they need to sustain themselves. He will give you gifts and talents to sustain yourself. So I got a piece of paper out, wrote down everything that I knew I could help somebody else do better, or consult them in those areas. And with Covenant Media Group, it came up with media, marketing, branding, events. Those are all things I had done over the years in radio. When you work in radio, you do all those things. You learn how to brand your station. You learn how to do events. You learn how to write press releases for what you all have going on. You learn how to do all those things. And plus, I had a degree in communications with an emphasis in broadcasting and journalism and so forth. So I wrote down everything I knew how to do. And I said, okay, Covenant Media Group is not only going to be the parent company for Beyond the Praise, but it's also going to be a company that can provide these other services. And the other services that Covenant Media Group provides, not only being the parent company for Beyond the Praise, but I work with churches, ministries, pastors, nonprofits, some artists, businesses, helping them out in the areas of media marketing and branding and events. So that's what Covenant Media does. And I am looking for new clients.
So you went through that list really fast. So slow it down and give us that list. You said churches. Who else?
I work with churches. I work with nonprofits.
So what exactly do you do for the nonprofits?
Branding and marketing. And like nonprofits have events. Nonprofits don't necessarily know how to brand what they have. People don't know about a lot of nonprofits. So I will come up with a marketing strategy by the quarter. Here's what we're going to do to market you first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, so that people know who you are. Here's what we're going to do to brand you. Here's what we're going to do social media wise to get, to build up your followers on social media. But you have to build a brand, and churches sometimes don't realize that they are a brand. Churches are a brand. And if you want to increase your membership, tithe and offerings and volunteers and all of that, people have to know you're there. People have to know that, and the ways that you can do that, different ways you can do that. Churches have a building, and a lot of them are virtual now too, but they can have different events there, not just concerts, but they can have workshops, financial workshops. They can have health fairs. They can have all these different events that will not only brand them, but let the community know about them and maybe come to their service on Sunday mornings. So just kind of work with churches and ministries. Some ministries and evangelists don't have churches. Well, I show them how to brand themselves individually, and not if they're not attached to a church, how they can brand themselves individually. Different things that they can do, different things that we could set up to brand for them quarterly, twice a year, whatever. So just kind of hear their passion, hear their mission, hear their vision, and develop a strategy for it.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So for the person like myself who, you're looking for people to interview, how do you land that interview from like the Fred Hammond or the, I don't know, CC Winan? How do you land that interview? I'm asking for myself.
Okay. Well, for me, it's different because I know all these people. So there's not too many people. I really don't have a problem getting interviews because I've known all these people for so long. But for you starting, follow them on social media, check out their websites, look for their contact information on their websites. If there's phone numbers, email addresses, and so far, reach out to those people that are representing them through their social media and through their website. So I think that will be good. If they're associated with a record label, reach out to that record label to see about getting an interview, find out who the record label is. You can find out a lot of that stuff on their social media and websites. So go that route, find out their contact information through social media and through their websites, and reach out to those contacts.
So has there been anybody, I'm not going to ask any names, but have you had people that you tried to interview and they didn't let you interview them? Or do you basically, it's because you know so many people?
Yeah, I really haven't. No, I haven't really run across anyone that I really wanted to interview that I haven't had the opportunity to interview. Um, and it's maybe conflict of schedule, just getting schedules matched up. But I haven't really had anybody say, no, we don't want to interview with you. And I thank God, for longevity in this business and for my name and my reputation to precede me, because all of that helps with doing interviews.
Right.
Is that they know me beforehand, and that helps. Oh, it's Willie Mae McIver. So I thank God. I'm very humbled by it. And but yeah, just kind of if you work that angle, and if you continue to build your brand, if you continue to create a buzz about you, they'll hear about you, and it'll make it easy for you to get to them.
Well, that is wonderful. So tell me the difference between regular radio station that you listen to in your car or, versus internet radio station. What's the difference?
So regular radio stations that you listen to in your car are called it's called terrestrial radio, and those are the ones that you can punch on the dial. Internet is strictly on the internet. There are a lot of internet stations out there, and there are a lot of internet stations doing very well for themselves. I'm very excited for internet radio stations and the role that they play for artists, because it gives artists another avenue to get their music heard. There are times when some artists, especially the newer artists, may not be able to get their songs played on a terrestrial station because they don't have the notoriety yet. And for some program directors and music directors, they look for the artists, or they play the artists that have the notoriety and that's on the charts already. Whereas you might be able to get your music played easier on the internet station because they don't have, the strict rules and guidelines that a lot of terrestrial stations have to follow according to their corporate offices. So, but that's the difference. Terrestrial radio is what you turn to on the dial, and then internet are the ones that are only online. Now, the internet stations have competition because a lot of the terrestrial stations stream online through their websites. So they do have that. But I guess what internet stations have over terrestrial stations is that they are able to have the flexibility to play what they want, do what they want, when they want. And there's not a lot of politics involved.
So is it true that it's like a 20 song playlist for like radio stations? Remember how people would say that it's just a 20 song playlist and they play the same music over and over?
And the way it's set up with some companies, they do have a short list, which means that for some companies, their stations rotate, have a 2.5 hour rotation where you will hear the same song every 2.5 hours. So that means that is a short list. They may only have a top 20 list, top 30 list, but a lot of the larger companies do have the 2.5 hour playlist rotation, not only for their urban stations, but for their gospel stations and for their rock stations and so forth and so on. So yeah, the short lists do exist.
Wow. All right. So what else can you tell me about you before I let you go? We're at 23 minutes. I have 7 more minutes.
I don't know. I'm a people person. I love people. I love helping people out. I'm a very good listener. There are things that I know and have heard over the years that artists have told me personally that I have had to go through and edit the interview. I do very few live interviews because artists are real good at using me as a sounding board. I'm an easy person to talk to. I'm a passionate, compassionate person to talk to. I feel their pain. I will cry with them if they're going through something. And I'll have to say, okay, I know we did this interview. Now, what part do you want me to cut out? Because we're not into tabloid journalism. I'm not getting ready to put all your business out there on the street. So anything is in this interview that you don't want out there, let me know and we will edit it right on out, because that's not what I'm about. And they respect me for it. They respect me for me, just being the person that I am, and genuinely caring about them and their lives, and not just about their song.
That's good. That's good. So, finally, give that person that's thinking about going into journalism, or thinking about doing what you do, or thinking about being a radio station personality, why don't you give them just some encouraging words?
I would say you have to hone your craft. So you have to do some homework, do research, listen to lots and lots of stations, hear how different people do different programs, different shows, but you have to educate yourself on the process. And there's a process for radio. Don't just listen to hear that person's voice. Listen to how they do things. Listen to the structure. There's a way to do radio. You can't just get on and just start talking. You need to open it up with call letters, frequencies. This is such and such, 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 whatever, whatever. I'm such and such. Then when you finish that mic breaks shouldn't be any longer than 30, 40 seconds max, because you don't want to ramble. You always want to make sure that you have something to say. And you also, it's not always about you. Make the content about everything else that's going on, whether it's current events, whether it's a religion, whether it's about the industry, whether it's about artists. Don't make it about you. Give them information they can share with other people. But learn Radio 101. Learn how you come in and out of mic breaks, how you do interviews. Listen to people doing interviews. So you have to go through that process, and don't just wake up one morning and say, I want to be on the radio. It's not like that. You have to do your homework. You got to listen to how other people do it. You got to listen to how they set up their breaks. All of that matters when you're sending out an air check to a station to see if they want to hire you. And it's okay if you practice on your own. Start your own internet station. Start a podcast. That gives you experience doing the different features and elements of being on the radio. And it also gives that radio station that you might want to apply to something to go by. They have heard your internet station. They have heard you on that internet station. They have heard your podcast. They see that you've got some experience, because very few stations will hire you without experience.
Mm. All right, then. Well, I want to thank you so much for taking this time out with me, and with the listeners of the Touching You Talk Show. It is, like I say, it's an honor and a privilege, and to have known you, and even work beside you in ministry with the Outreach Women's Conference. It has been a true blessing to me. And I just want to say that your voice, ma'am, you have a beautiful voice.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. God is so good. God is so awesome that I've been able to utilize my voice for voiceover work as well, with churches, with commercials. God is so good. And I'm not a spring chicken. I'll be honest with you. August the 11th, I will be 63 years old.
What?
But God is so good. He hasn't changed my voice, so I can still use it for income, because I sound pretty much the same as I did 42 years ago. So I thank God for that. But I did also too want to tell you that I am so proud of you. Touching You Talk Show. I mean, you just did it. I mean, you went out and launched it, and I just watched you grow. I guess, has it been on a year?
It's been a year. It was a year in May.
See, I've watched you over the year, and I watched your segments, and I've just seen you grow and develop. So kudos and congratulations to you too. I'm proud of you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. But my premise is to just share the people that I love with the people that I know. And I know so many great people, and you're one of them. And I just wanted to share the people that I love with the people that I know. So thank you so much for being on the show.
You're welcome. Let me get my contact information real quick.
Absolutely.
So people can reach me at 214-563-6568, 214-563-6568, or you can email me yourcmg at AOL.com. I'm old school, so I still have AOL. YOURCMG, which stands for Covenant Media Group. YOURCMG at AOL.com. And I would be more than happy to be of service to any of y'all.
All right. And then when is your next show that you're going to be interviewing someone? When is that? Do you have a
Coming up
plan?
this weekend, the weekend show will be featuring Dietrich Haddon.
Ooh.
So that will be coming up. Yeah, he's got new music out. He's got a new movie that's coming out real soon called Fallen. And so we'll be talking about all of that.
All right. Well, I will definitely put your information in the chat. And I appreciate you being my guest today. And everyone, thank you for listening. Those who are listening on demand, thank you so much. This has been Touching You Talk Show. And I'm Sheila Black with Willie Mae McIver. Have a great day, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye bye. God bless.